Oh, that's not very straight. So you want to move to Thailand. First of all, that is fantastic. You absolutely should do that. Cannot recommend it enough. So what I'm going to run through here is sort of what you can expect to pay for your monthly expenses, for your essential things like rent, food, water, that sort of thing. This is going to be more specific to someone who is intending to move out here longer term. So this is the sort of money you can expect to pay if you're going to be here for 6+ months and you're planning to actually relocate to Thailand. If you're just planning to come here for a 1 month holiday, you can probably get some insight from this, but you're going to be paying more if you're just here short term. This is much more long-term focused. The big thing to keep in mind with this as well is that your location in Thailand is going to have the biggest effect on the amount of money that you're paying. Like if you're planning to come to a city in Thailand, somewhere like Bangkok or Pattaya, you can live a lot cheaper than you can in some of the more touristy hotspots like Koh Samui and the other islands. Everything's gonna be more expensive because your food's got to get shipped there. You don't have these sort of condos, these apartment buildings to live and rent out. So your life is gonna be more expensive. But if you like that island living, if you like the more touristy lifestyle, it might still be worth the investment. So jumping right into it, first thing we're looking at is long-term accommodation. Now, if you're planning to come to Thailand long term, what you'll probably end up doing is signing a 12-month lease on a property somewhere. What I've got at the moment is I've got a 12-month lease on a condo in Bangkok. So what will happen is you'll pay a 2-month like damage deposit up front. That's Thai law, you have to do that. And then you'll pay your 1 month rent advance. And it's very common for every contract to be 12 months. You can try and get 6-month contracts, but 12 months is the most common that landlords are happy to sign over to you with. So if you're planning to base yourself out of one of the cities like Bangkok, then you've actually got a lot of options at a very, very good price. If you're looking for a decent single bed studio layout condo, you're looking at about sort of anywhere from 13 to 17K Thai baht. You can get something actually quite decent, still fairly modern. Around 14K baht is what I got my first condo for in Bangkok. It was a studio layout, new project, and good facilities, good everything. But when you're looking at a condo to move into, very, very important, if you go to YouTube and you look up videos, what you're going to see is these YouTubers bragging about how good these $500 a month condos are. And they'll spend 3/4 of the video showing you the condo facilities. And then when they show you the room's like really, really small and it looks pretty bad compared to the rest of the condo. So if you are planning to move to a city and you're going to move into a condo, make your decision based off the room. Don't make it so much based off the facilities, because most of your time, if you're sort of working online, is going to be spent inside your room. You're actually not going to use the facilities that much. It's a little bit of a way they like to try and get people in by spending extra money in the facilities and then having these tiny rooms in these condo buildings. So do not fall for that. If you have about 14,000 baht to spend a month, that's going to run you $400, and you can get a pretty decent apartment building to settle into. And the beauty with Thailand is you can live cheap or you can live expensive. So this is just a very rough guide to have a comfortable living on the cheaper side. But you can spend a lot more than this and still get something with far better value than what you get for spending that same money in the West. But from a Western standpoint, $400 a month for rent is absolutely nothing. That's chump change. Water and electricity, short-term and long-term rentals. Usually in Thailand, you have to pay your own utilities. This is also true of some hotels. If you're going and you check into a hotel for 4 to 5 days, in the West, Airbnb, stuff like that, it's pretty normal that the host foots the bill and you don't have to worry about that. In Thailand, they'll always take a photo of the meter when you check in and the meter when you check out, and you'll have to pay the difference that way. So just bear that in mind, short-term and long-term, you're going to have to pay for water and electricity. Those two put together is going to be around 3,000 Thai baht a month. If we do the conversion, it's about $90 a month. So not a whole lot, but it's good to keep that in mind. No matter where you're staying short-term or long-term, you are going to have to pay the utilities on that. This is more specific to long-term, but if you're moving into a condo, usually you have to organize the internet for that as well. So if you get like a 12-month internet contract with a company called True, that's about 700 Thai baht a month, 12-month contract. So it's about $20 all up. Food and water. And this is one where you can really live as cheap or as expensive as you want, And this is where you will find the most diversity in terms of what you want to spend. Because if you decide that you want to come to Thailand with a very minimalist budget and try and stay for as long as possible while living as cheap as possible, maybe you don't have cash flow at the moment or whatever's going on, you can just eat local food, go out to the markets. You can get like a chicken and rice from a local market for as little as like $2. If you want to spend a bit more money, you can afford to get food deliveries 2 to 3 times a day, and it's still pretty cheap compared to Western standards. Anywhere from 4 to 900 Thai baht a day. You can make 4 work, like 400. Not going to be great fun, but if you don't care so much about splashing out on food, you just want to eat chicken and rice and you want to save money, you can still make 400 work. So for the purpose of this, we'll just say, assume you're spending 900, you're getting food delivery a couple of times a day, you're still getting some nicer places, maybe you treat yourself to sushi for dinner. So you're looking at about $26 a day if you're spending 900 Thai baht and enjoying the food a bit more. In Thailand, you cannot drink the water that comes out of the taps. If you do that, then you'll get very, very sick. So you will also have to buy your own water. So if you go to 7-Eleven and you buy a 6-pack of 1.5 litre bottles, that'll run you again maybe like $2. Also very common in Thailand, there are actually water vending machines where you bring your own like plastic tub, whatever you want to store your water in, you put some coins in, you put it underneath and it fills it up for you. And I'm not sure what the exact price of those is, but if the cost of water is going to start being annoying for you, you can use those and get it for almost nothing, and that's perfectly safe to drink. Gym memberships in Thailand, regardless of location, whether you're in a city where you're somewhere more touristy, a decent gym membership is going to run you about 2,000 Thai baht a month, $60. So at least in Australia, the gym pricing is actually pretty similar, and sometimes it's actually more expensive in Thailand than it is to join one of the big chains back in your home country. But obviously, I'd always recommend you have a gym membership. I think it's foolish to live a life where you're not working out regularly as part of your routine. So assign yourself about 2,000 Thai baht for that. If you're moving into a condo complex, most condominiums will have a gym there. So that's another thing to look at when you're moving in if you really want to try and cut down your expenses and save some money. However, these gyms are not created equal. If you're someone who takes bodybuilding quite seriously and you want to chuck some plates on a bench, want to do some squats with a bit more weight, 99 times out of 100, these condo gyms won't be suitable for you. So I'd still recommend you find a local gym, about 2,000 baht a month, and you're sorted there. In terms of transport costs, anywhere you go in Thailand, I'd recommend you rent a scooter. If you just go for something like a baseline Honda Click 125cc, the pretty normal price is around 2,000 to 3,000 Thai baht for that, which again is about $88 monthly. And obviously you got to pay for fuel and stuff to put in them. But with that little engine, they're so fuel efficient that it costs nothing to fill it up. Although make sure if you're going to rent a scooter that you've actually had some experience driving them around in the West before, because Thailand is not the place to be learning how to operate a scooter with the standard of driving on the roads here. If you're not already confident operating it, you're probably going to get yourself into a lot of trouble being a very first time scooter rider in Southeast Asia. I would absolutely recommend against it. Another thing you need to make sure you budget for is travel insurance and get it enough to cover your whole trip. If you're moving out to Thailand permanently, you got to go with something slightly different like a digital nomad insurance, because a lot of travel insurance companies will have a limit onto how long they're going to insure you for. But for long-term insurance out here, if you offer something like Safety Wing, you're looking at about 90, $100 a month on the lower end of things. But when you're getting your travel insurance, a couple of really important things you have to check. This is not insurance advice. These are just things that I know a lot of people get in trouble for because they don't check this in their insurance policy first. Number one, make sure you will actually be covered if you're driving a scooter in Thailand. That's like the number one thing that people get injured by doing. And with that, your policy will probably only cover you if you're fully licensed. So you've got an international license that says you're allowed to be operating a scooter in Thailand. You have to be wearing a helmet, and you have to have no like drugs, no alcohol or anything like that in your system. If you're going to go against any of those three things and you get into a scooter accident, chances are your insurance is not going to look after it and you'll be in a world of hurt. Second thing, if you're coming to Thailand and you're going to do any form of sports like Muay Thai, anything extreme like jet skiing, stuff like that, Oftentimes in insurance policies, you'll have to add on an extreme sports package to cover these things. The last thing you want to do is break a bone doing something like whipping a jet ski or training in the gym and then figure out you weren't actually covered by that. So make sure you look into what sports and what activities that insurance policy is actually going to cover. And the third thing you should look for in your travel insurance is make sure that in worst case scenario, the insurance company will pay for you to return to your home country for treatment. Because it might be you come down with something in Thailand, which you either don't want to use your insurance policy for, because you might have higher overheads, or maybe it's not the best place to get this problem taken care of. So you want to make sure you've got that lifeline where the insurance company will at least exfiltrate you back to your home country so you can get taken care of it there in a healthcare system you may have more knowledge of. And last thing you should do, give yourself a little budget on the side for just like grocery items. I don't count these when I'm doing my budgets. I don't count these in with food. I like to count it separately for things like, I need some shaving cream or whatever it may be, or just little purchases you make along the way. So at least just allocate yourself something like 100 Thai baht just to cover these little expenses, these little things you have to buy in 7-Eleven. So again, that's only about 88 US dollars a month. So it's a very, very small amount, but it's just worth noting these small things because at the end of the day, 50 here, 50 there, it all adds up and you can end up blowing out your savings pretty quick if you're not thinking about all these things. So these are the main categories where you're going to be spending your money. When we go through and we total up all these categories in US dollars, we're looking at 1,626 US dollars a month. And that is very, very cheap compared to what you're getting in the West for the exact same price. Obviously, this is just your baseline expenses. Any additional things you want on top of that, like going to go get a haircut, going out for activities, taking a girl out for a date, these are all things you got to add on top. But when you've got such a cheap base lifestyle, it makes it much easier to have that cash which you can go ahead and spend on these things. So depending on what sort of lifestyle you want to live out here, you'll have to allocate money for these extras. But again, that's completely up to you, depending on the sort of lifestyle you want to live. So this number of 1,626 to cover your basic monthly expenses, you can make this lower or higher depending on the quality of life that you want. If it's really, really important to you to cut down your expenses as much as possible, which I wouldn't recommend because you still want to enjoy every day when you wake up, you could potentially get it quite a bit lower than that. And in Thailand, there really is no limit to the amount that you can spend. So if you're a big money baller and you want to come out here and splash some cash, don't worry, you can also do that. But just make a plan before you come, have a look around, and just really the most important thing I would say is think about the experience you want in Thailand and the area you want to live in, because that will really determine your expenses from there, depending on the lifestyle you want to live and the area of Thailand you want to live in. So a pretty simple one, boys. If there's any questions you have about day-to-day life in Thailand, or if you're interested in moving out here and you want more information, drop a comment, send me a DM on Instagram, let me know, because I've been out here for quite a while now. So if you want any more information on lifestyle or information on the country, visas, anything like that, let me know. I can either answer you privately or make a video on it if the question's big enough or enough people ask. But just shoot me a message. I'm always happy to help, always here. So thanks, boys, and I'll see you in the next video.